Good Thursday morning, peoples. I wanted to get something out to you, and these are going to be good for comparison purposes. Let me fix a typo here. L. Let me get out some info on Biggy. Some of you may have seen that are familiar with Yieldmax. So again, there's a lot Round Hill, Defiance, Rex, just a all awful lot of stuff out there. And some of the newer stuff is targeting an income level, which I actually like better for medium to inexperienced to slightly experienced investors, because if you don't really know what you're doing and you chase yield, you can really get burned. Like, you can buy a Misty at 45 and watch it go down to 19 and sell it because you're like, oh my God, I lost more than half, even though I got some big dividend. And now it's back up in the 40s. But that's a good scenario. You could be in Tesla where it reverse splits, and some of these other ones have performed horribly, even though they paid some dividends. So I like the idea that they're targeting 12% because it's a lot more sustainable over multi year. As I said to you, if you went out there and said, "Hey, I produce 40% a year for 30 years," you'd be better than anybody in the history of the stock market, just honestly, right? So people don't sustain those levels. Now, traders do, but that's a full-time profession that you're just day trading all day, pretty much every day. You may stop a trade. You never force a trade. But when you're in a trade, you have to be really active and on it. All right, let's jump into Biggie. So what is it? And then I wanted to tell you that this leads for a setup that I'm going to start doing with Curve and Defiance and some of these other funds that have similar. So when you're comparing apples to apples, it's easier to compare. Um, some of you remember when I did a Curve interview, and then I looked at Curve at that time, 7 or 8 funds, and they basically had the Mag 7. They didn't have any crypto, they didn't have anything else, and they, on general, I think they won 4 out of the 7, and 3 were won by Yieldmax. And what I did was I analyzed the fund over a period of time that they both had it, and the only reason Curve won in the 4 when they won is because I was measuring total return. So what is total return? As a reminder, guys, it's how much dividend yield did I make over a period of time, and then I annualized that. And how much gain or loss did I have in the underlying ETF equity? And then I add those two together. And I know a bunch of people always go, oh, well, Bruce, I want this, I want that. I don't consider it. Well, guys, you're wrong. I'm just going to tell you right now, the data is the data. You're lying to yourself. Now, I accept some arguments where somebody said, hey, I got a 45% annual yield and I lost 15%, okay, on the NAV. So they say I had a 30% total gain. That's what I say, okay? And I'll accept, I can live with that, right? But you can't lie about the 30. You can't say I had a 15%, a 45% annual yield. I haven't sold. Okay, you haven't sold, but what is it? What's your book value? If you had to go show a bank or your accountant or somebody else, what's your statement value tell you? Okay. Now I know some of you then say, well, yeah, but I took that money I was getting out of the dividends and I invested in other things and I made money. Okay, fine, but I could create a Ponzi scheme and I could take $100,000 from you and give you $1,000 every week back, return to capital, right? And you're going out and making money on that, and you're telling me, but at the end of the day, if all you ever get back is 100,000 in total. So all I say is you can't ignore total return. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's everything. I'm just saying anybody that just completely ignores it, that's bad. And all right, so Biggie, following through, option income ETF, as I mentioned, targeting 12% yield, right? Dividend income. They're going to pay monthly, not weekly, and they're going to own underlying stocks. What are they going to own? Well, they're going to own 50 of the largest US companies. That doesn't mean 1 through 50. They'll select, they being Zega, will select the companies that they want to own. Think a little bit of Ulti. Now, I know Ulti focuses on extreme high yield. Okay, and that didn't work very well for him, to be honestly. And that I know some of you love it. I love this scenario where an income fund fails miserably by having a rapid NAV loss. Right, it goes from $20 to $11. But people say, hey, my average price is 11.20 and I'm getting 65% yield. Yeah, you are, but the track record of that fund isn't very good. I know that it can change and it can go up. There's nothing wrong with buying a stock when it's beaten down if you really like the underlying. I just, I own a little bit of Ulti because I find it humorous just to watch it. To me, it still hasn't proven itself. So, I like this because it won't come out and tell you it's targeting 12 or 20. It's going to pay you 60, 80, 90% yield. But like I said, I could do the same thing with a Ponzi scheme and just do ROC, right? I don't really have your money. I don't have it invested. I just took it and I'm giving you 1,000 a month back out of your 100,000 you gave me. You don't know what I did with the money. Well, these aren't Ponzi schemes. We know that they're investing. They have statements. But you know what I'm saying is you really can't ignore a NAV loss. Sure, as I said, 45% yield and a 15% NAV loss, I can live with that. But if you told me I got a 65 over here and I got a 50 over here, I'm saying, yeah, you're netting 15, but I know some places you can net 15 easily and you don't lose a penny on the underlying asset value, right? I'm not saying it's not at risk, but maybe it's up 2%, maybe it's down 0.5%. There is some movement in the underlying stock, but it's not just a 50% loser. It's and then telling you, well, you have to keep buying, right? Well, of course you have to keep buying it. The Ponzi scheme is going to tell you you got to keep investing. So that's all, guys. So Biggie, Apple, okay, big companies in here, ABBV. I think they own Allergan now. I could be wrong on that, but a very, very large, either Swiss or a different, I forget the nationality, French or Swiss, but I think it's Swiss based. ABT, AMD, right? Adobe, Abbott Labs, okay. AMD, we know Amgen, Amazon, Broadcom, AVGO, American Express, Bank of America. So clearly, they've already chosen Caterpillar, Costco, Salesforce, Cisco, Chevron, like Chevron a lot. Um, what is this one? Donna here, General Electric, Alphabet, Google, Home Depot, right? That you would expect almost household names. IBM, worked for IBM in the past. I know a little bit about them. Intuit, Johnson and Johnson, J.P. Morgan, Coca-Cola, Eli Lilly. I'm not a big fan of Eli Lilly anymore. I think that stock is sort of headed down. But we shall see. MasterCard, McDonald's, Meta, Morgan Stanley, Microsoft, Netflix. A lot of you know some of these: NVIDIA, Oracle, Pepsi, Procter Gamble, Qualcomm, Tesla, Thermo Fisher, Texas Industries, United Healthcare, Visa, Verizon, Wells Fargo, Walmart, Exxon. Love Exxon. Okay. Cash and other. All right, guys. So, how does this thing differ? Well, first off, it's a combination. This doesn't differ. Any other income ETF writes options, but doesn't, a single stock does not own the underlying stock. Okay. So almost all of the funds inside YMAG and YMAX are all single stock income funds, right? The only this is has similarity to Ulti. Only Ulti had a methodology. They modified it slightly, but it chased high yield. Okay. And then it went from not really owning the stocks. Okay, but lately over the last 6 8 months, it's been owning the stocks a lot more. I haven't followed up on it and watched it daily to see if they're doing spreads, but in general, Yieldmax has filed for all the old ones, and all the new ones have a plethora of optionality of what type of options to deploy. So I think since they want to own some of these, so they're showing a share count, they're then in turn writing options, right, on these guys. So you'll see things like a call at 232.5 on Apple, right? Actually, it was here in some of the security call option 1224. So simply to best advise on that is I imagine most of what they'll be doing are simply buy and write a call. Now, that doesn't preclude that they don't do some other option methodology, but I think number one, you can generate a 12% annualized income, okay, simply by doing call options. And if these companies, and some of them do certainly do pay a dividend. Your tech stocks pay less, but some of these other ones certainly have a dividend. So you will receive that dividend based on your share count, right? I mean, the fund will receive it and it'll dispense. The only question I had, if anybody knows, is probably just digging it. What is the fund? Normally, these things come in at like 0.99 for most of the Yieldmax, and then on the other funds are like a dollar or 1.28. So I'll find that for you guys. Yieldmax is pretty good about that. Um, so I suspect it's somewhere between 0.99 and 1.28 percentage that the management fee is. It does launch at $50, which they've already said all their new stuff will be at. When does it first pay? It pays every first Tuesday of every month, starting in January. So when's it launching? Today. So if you want to buy it, you can buy it today. You won't get paid until the first Tuesday in January, which, according to my calendar, looks like it's on the 7th. Wednesday is the 1st of January. So this thing would pay on the 7th, which probably matches up. And it's not going to match up with your groups exactly, but it's closer to group B than it is to group A. But it's not going to pay in the groups as I see it now. Now, also, guys, there are oh, never mind. I was going to say on some of these stocks, but I'm not going to be doing a daily analysis of this thing, but I will report from it from time to time. The other thing that I do want to do for you guys, as I mentioned, is go out here and start literally, like Curve has one called Tech Titans. I don't know exactly how many companies. I just uncovered it when I was presenting last evening on the Curve funds, right? On their similar Mag 7 to Yieldmax. And it caught my attention that they've got this, Tech Titans. So uh, I'll try and do a comparison. I know some people have done it on the Bitcoin ones, right? And you can go across ProShares and Yieldmax and other people when you're doing that. Defiance has YBTC. So this will give you a good chance with these targeted income funds for me to do some comparisons out there to fund families. And then you have a little bit more education when you want to select something. Okay, guys, that's what I got for you here. Again, this is Bruce with Targeted Wealth Creation. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Have a great one, peoples. Talk to you later. Bye for now.